Hi, everybody. This is Maxine Taylor, and I have the May 2022 forecast for the United States. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this, and here we are, May 1st, and I've got it going. What I'd like to mention is something that I did, maybe a month or two ago, that some of you may have seen. I was invited to do a forecast on the United States, and I did one that goes through 2039 because I saw where Pluto was headed and it concerned me. And so I went and looked at it, and the link to it is raisingthevibe.org. raisingthevibe.org. There's an organization here in Atlanta called Raising the Vibe. And I shared my forecast for the United States through 2039. If you'd like to see it, it's there. There's no charge for it. Just click on it. Now I'm going to talk about May. For those of you who may be tuning in for the first time, let me just say that there is a difference in interpreting a person's chart and a country's chart. A country's chart is deals with millions of people, so it's slightly different. So I very often read the meanings of the different mundane houses that are activated by the transiting planets. So I won't keep you in the dark, all right? So let's see now. Well, I'm going to start with the sun because the sun is the giver of life, and it's the center of our life. In the United States chart for May, it's in the 12th house and the first house. Now, the 12th house of the zodiac deals with criminals, bribery, spies, hidden enemies, prisons, jails, hospitals, charitable institutions, seclusion, secret society or societies, and welfare, because it all takes place behind the scenes, you know. So here is the sun shining a light on the 12th house, and wherever the sun shines, it brings light to that area. So things are looking actually pretty good. Now, you might say, how good can they be if we're talking about prisons and jails? Well, recently there was a prisoner exchange between the United States and Russia. It's that type of thing. But mostly it's behind the scenes activities that need to stay behind the scenes for the safety of the country and the citizens. On the 28th and 29th, the sun moves into the first house of the chart. Now, the ascendant is the most personal point in a person's birth chart, in your birth chart. When we're dealing with millions of people, the ascendant deals with the attitude and political mood of the people and public health. Well, I'm using the 7 Gemini 48 ascendant, and Uranus, the rebel, the explosive one, the liberator, the really a rebellious, transformational planet. The giver of light is the sun, and the awakener is Uranus. And so when the sun sits on the United States ascendant and Uranus, which it will, the 28th and 29th of May, this is the attitude of the people, rebellious, and public health comes into play, of course, because that has been a topic with the pandemic. Okay, now, along with that, we have a full moon and a new moon. The full moon is on May 16th in 25 degrees of Scorpio. It's in the 6th house of the United States chart, but it's not just a full moon. On a full moon, things come to a head. This is an eclipse of the moon, and so it's really, really powerful. The 6th house in a mundane chart is the military, the health of the country, jobs, civil servants, pets, the food supply, animals, and police and fire departments, civil servants, naturally. An eclipse lasts much longer than a full moon normally does. When we have a full moon and it's an eclipse, things come to a head and they last till the next pair of eclipses come along, which are usually about 5 to 6 months later. And so these are the areas that are very, very powerful. Now, 2 weeks after the full moon, we have a new moon. And that's when the energy starts moving again, because from the full moon, lots of energy, and then the energy starts waning. Okay, the new moon is May 30th in 9 degrees of Gemini. It's sitting right on the Gemini ascendant and Uranus. What happens here is this particular full moon, new moon, activates the north node and the south node. This looks like a three-legged table. 1 leg, 2 legs, 3 legs. And the empty leg, the missing leg, is the 7th house. So let me explain what all this means. When the south node is that which we have mastered in past lives. It can be redoing the same thing that we've mastered over and over and over again and getting the same result. The 9th house deals with the upper courts, like the Supreme Court, foreign travel, foreign negotiations, higher education, religion, advertising, science, insurance, the philosophy of the country, world trade, and universities. It's our higher mind in a personal chart. It's the higher courts in a mundane chart. In a mundane chart, the 3rd house, which has the north node in it, which is the area of our greatest growth. It rules communication, news and news reporters, the mail, public opinion, traffic, short distance travel, books, newspapers, magazines, that type of thing, neighborhoods, school and teachers, and public transportation. Okay, so these areas are triggered, but the 7th house is the area of our lives here in the United States that is truly activated. And this 7th house deals with our open enemies. You might say those frenemies, could be, but they're open enemies. It deals with international affairs, wars, lawsuits, lawyers, politics, marriage and divorce, the lower courts, and contracts and negotiations of all types. Now, Mercury is retrograde, or it will be retrograde on the 10th. And so by the time this new moon comes along, we know that in a personal chart, you do not start a new project under a retrograde Mercury because it either fizzles out completely or has to be redone within the year. We don't want to sign contracts as a nation. And everything that I just read is unsettled. Because this is what happens with Mercury retrograde. We have an opportunity to tie up the loose ends of unfinished business when it comes to lawsuits, And we have a big one that's been going on since for months, dealing with January 6th. Okay. Law, lawyers, politics, the lower courts, contracts, etc. All right. This is the sun and the lunations. Now, let's talk about Venus and Mercury. First of all, Mercury's in the shadow of the retrograde right now. Today is May 1st. It will go retrograde on the 10th. It sits all month in that 12th house that I just described for the sun. Mercury is the planet of communication. So there's lots of talking going on. And I do think that just looking at this, because it deals with prisons and jails, I'm really hopeful that those people who have been wrongly incarcerated in foreign countries will be released. It's a lot to hope for, but we've seen it done, and it's not impossible. Okay, so this Mercury retrograde is going over all the 12th house issues. That's cool. Venus, the planet of love and money and beauty, which is the lesser benefic. Jupiter is the greater benefic. The two good guys of the zodiac are Venus and Jupiter. And I'll talk about Jupiter in a minute. Venus is money and love and beauty and all the good stuff. And it's sitting in that 11th house, all right, of Congress, congressmen, congresswomen, legislation, the Treasury, city and county councils, and our friends. You know, our country has friends. And so our friends and allies, there's love going on. And then Venus on the 22nd moves into the 12th house, bringing love, bringing blessings to all that 12th house mystery. Even though Mercury will still be retrograde until the beginning of June, I feel that this is, with Venus in the 12th house, things can move forward. I sure hope so. And we may not know about it because it's the hidden, behind the scenes 12th house. Now, let's look over here. Mars and Jupiter. Mars is passion. It's what you fight with and fight for. It's what comes first to you. It's arguing. It's fighting. I don't mean with dueling pistols. The 11th house again deals with Congress and congressmen, congresswomen, legislation, the Treasury. I mean, there's passion going on there. City councils, county councils, and our friends, our national friends. Jupiter, the greater benefic, expands. Jupiter is God's law. Saturn is man's law. Jupiter is God's law. Jupiter expands. It brings optimism. It brings hope. It brings abundance. And here it is in the 11th house of Congress, above all else. I love the way that looks. Will there be disagreements? Oh yeah, Mars is there. Can there be truth, optimism, and expansion? Absolutely. Now, I have included Pluto because Pluto, this is natal Pluto. We're having a Pluto return, which is so infrequent. I always get this mixed up. It's either its return takes 245 years or 248 years. So right in that time frame. Pluto has been returning to its natal place and retrograding, going back and forth. Pluto is out with the old, in with the new. It's total transformation. It's secrets, it's control. It's in the ninth house of the upper courts, like, the Supreme Court, foreign travel, religion, the clergy, insurance, the Supreme Court. I mentioned that before. World trade, but it's the principles on which our country was based. And so there can be a total transformation. And I don't know which way it's going to go. We'll know at the time of. Pluto will make its last pass over its natal place at the beginning of 2024. Pluto rules pandemics, it rules viruses. And so here it is doing its thing till 2024. Now, what I did earlier when I mentioned raising the vibe, I took Pluto and tracked it as it approaches the 10th house of the United States chart, which is the party in power and the president. And Pluto is out with the old, in with the new. And depending on what is going on before it sits on that midheaven, and the moon in Aquarius in the United States chart, that is what will undergo a transformation. And so what I've said on that video is, in essence, there can be a tipping point, at which point the United States, with everything that it's been going through, the egregiousness, the in-house fighting, the insurrections, just everything, we can return to the principles on which our country was founded. That's the bottom line. And there is a total transformation involved. So, this is my forecast. Please join me next month when I talk about Mercury going direct. Excuse me, we're pollinated here in Atlanta, and I'm feeling it. And to everybody out there, all my international friends, I wish you and your nation that you live in a nation of peace and love and abundance and joy. And to the Ukraine, you're amazing. You're an inspiration to the world. You are. And I'm so glad that the United States supports you, because you are a remarkable country. And so, my dear friends, till next time, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours and the country in which you live. Bye.